Hey guys, in this video today we're going to further look into app configuration with AWS Param Store. And so in the previous video or older video that I did, I basically walked through the steps to actually get that done if you're running your application locally. But let's say you want to run your application, your Flogo app within EC2 or within ECS cluster or EKS. Well, there's something different that you can do to make it a little bit more secure. So in the other video we showed that you had to use your access key and secret access key in order to be able to grab the parameters from the Param Store. If you're running it, if you deploy your application within the AWS VPC, then you don't have to do that. You can just define an IAM role, which is a lot safer, restrict specific resources if needed, and if not, then you can just attach that and you don't have to expose your keys anyway. So I'm not going to show you anything that I'm building or here. If you want to see that, go check out the other video. I'm just going to jump straight into the steps to actually get this all set up so that you can run it on EC2 instance. So to start off, I've SSH'd into my EC2 instance. You'll see that I have my binary in here, and then I have an AWS config file similar to what I had in the previous video. And I'm going to show you what the AWS config file has in this one. So if you remember in the last one, I had the access key ID and the secret access key. But in this case, instead of having that, I've replaced it with use IAM role. And basically what that's saying is that whatever IAM role is attached to the EC2 instance or that's being used, so let's say ECS with EC2, well, you would attach a role for that. Same thing with EKS, you could attach a role to that. To actually use that role in order to be able to access whatever you need, in this case the parameters. And you do the same thing like you did in the other file where you have to set the param prefix and the region of where it's stored. So we'll exit out of that. And so I'm going to go into the EC2 console. So here's my EC2 instance, and maybe for some people that are not very familiar with AWS, or maybe they're very basic users, they wouldn't know how to create a role or how to actually attach a role. So the way that you want to do it is, let's say you have an instance already running, you can go to Actions, Instance Settings, and then Attach Replace IAM Role, and then it'll tell you the IAM role you have here, or if you don't have any, it'll be blank. And let's say you drop down this menu and it shows nothing because it's your first time doing it. Well, you can create a new role. And basically, when you create this new role, you just create a role, you're going to want it to look something like this. So the only policy basically that it needs to have is the get parameters by path and get parameter for SSM, which is basically the management service. And so as long as that whatever policy or role that you've attached, or whatever role has this specific policy that allows these actions, you'll be actually able to access and get those parameters without having to specify any access key, just by attaching this role to your EC2 instance. And so because this EC2 instance has that attached, I don't have to provide any parameters, or I don't have to provide any key values as shown in my AWS config. I don't have to worry about encrypting or decrypting different things, just making it a lot simpler. So just like we did before, we're just going to run this with Flogo app props AWS, and then I'm just going to specify the JSON file and then the actual app itself. So just the same way as we did in the previous video, and you'll see that we get the exact same output as we did before. So in this case, you get that Flogo app property resolved. It's set to AWS Param Store. Makes sense with what we set. The sample environment variable didn't change because we didn't define that or set that or change that within the Param Store itself. So just use the default value. And then the actual value of the test environment variable that we had within our project, that has been changed. The value retrieved from Param Store. So that's different than what the default value is. So it was able to successfully pull that value without having to use any type of keys or anything, just because it's running on an EC2 instance that has a role that gives it access to the Param Store. And so this is pretty powerful, just because, and it's very useful because when you're developing, obviously, if you're going to use AWS, and a lot of times you're already working in their ecosystem, and just using keys in general isn't great practice. So this is a great way to try to get around that, so that you can just define a role within your cluster, within your EC2 instance, and then just have that give you access to what you need. So yeah, I hope this video was helpful. The next video, we're going to look at how you can do app config management with console. So watch out for that. Thanks.